Hi, I'm Erin Callahan. I wrote this book, The Art of Escaping. And one of the inspirations for this book was Miss Dorothy Dietrich, who's sitting next to me. She is a magician and escape artist. And we're also joined by Dick Brookz, who is a magician. And I'm going to ask them some questions, and they are possibly going to ask me some questions about my book. So here we go. So, after the two of you worked at a grind show / 10-in-1 show in New York, you started the Magic Townhouse. Can you talk a little bit about that? Because it reminds me a little bit of the underground venue where the main character in this book performs.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, that's funny. Well, the Magic Townhouse was a wonderful place. We had a three-story building. It was a brownstone on 61st and 3rd Avenue. And
which was the best part of town.
Really,
just
really
one block
nice.
north of Bloomingdale's. It's known as the Upper East Side.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so we had, on Friday and Saturday night, we had a nightclub and cabaret for adults, and was set up at the beginning. We would be open at 8 o'clock, and we'd probably be closed around 10. And then more and more magicians wanted to be a part of it, and they wanted to be performing. So then we said, you know
Well,
what?
originally we were the center of it. Just her and I. We did the entire evening, because we can both do an hour apiece, no problem. But then we came to the conclusion, if we're the only performers, how are you going to get a turnover of audience? So, besides, that's another reason we decided to have other performers perform as well.
So we thought, why stifle anybody that wants to grow? It was kind of like, you know how the comedy clubs are for comedians. You would go and you would practice and practice and practice until you got further up on the list. Well, that was our idea. We thought, you know what, anybody that wants to perform, here's the deal we'll do with them. You do your show, whether it's 2 minutes, 5 minutes, 10 minutes. We will sit in on the show and make mental notes, and then at the end, after everyone's gone, we went for coffee with everybody and we sat and discussed each person's show and thought what we thought was wonderful, what things need to be changed, or make suggestions about what tricks are similar that would maybe be much more appropriate for the act. And we ended up that some nights we ended up there 3 in the morning, just magician after magician, and the audience didn't want to leave. As long as there was an audience there, we'd stay and do the shows.
Because it wasn't a case where we had to leave. Like sometimes if you rent a theater or a performance space, you get it till midnight and then you have to go. But we had the building, so
we were renting, by the year. We had like a five-year lease every time, and so because of that, I think it gave everybody. There's a cadre of magicians that are traveling the world that came from that little.
That's amazing.
Yeah. We also had a children's theater. We had a little theater downstairs, on one of the floors. So we had a children's theater, and then we also did birthday parties. And there, through the years in New York, there've been magic venues, Tannins, Holdens, D. Robbins, you name it, Circle Magic. None of them ever did birthday parties. We're the only magic venue in New York that did birthday parties. So it was quite popular for that, and added income. And since then, sorry to say, people open up a place and they do birthday parties. They copy us. We had
The originators.
Yeah, had a Houdini exhibit up on the top floor. It was the original Houdini Museum in New York. And then we opened the Houdini Museum here, and then somebody else opened the Houdini Museum in New York, using the same name, Houdini Museum. They couldn't come up with a different name, So, but anyway.
So in the children's theater, that floor, on one end of the floor was, it was set up auditorium style with chairs, and the stage on one end. At the very back end of it was a magic shop. So the families could go to the magic shop and buy a couple of tricks at the end of the show. And we would get kids that are are thrilled by the magic, but they want more. They want to be the magician. So that was really cool.
We
And
get that here as well.
I will tell you, one of the most wonderful things that happened being a female magician was that somebody at the end of a show, and I don't remember where it was, there was a bunch of people wanting my autograph. So I was signing autographs, and this one guy was a media guy, and he said, he started interviewing people, and he said to this one little girl that was standing, like she was hanging around me. She was just hanging there, you know, she wasn't going to go. And so he said, what do you want to do when you grow up? And she said, I'm going to be a magician. And I was like, oh, I was like, oh. I was like, give me a hug, you know.
You're inspiring the
Was so
youngins.
Cool.
And then we actually paid the performers. We didn't pay them a lot, but we paid them. We gave them a free dinner, you know.
And they could bring a guest.
And they could bring a guest for free. And we had 3 performers that we paid, not a lot, but they got some money. And then after that, we let anybody perform who wanted to.
Okay.
Good, bad, or indifferent. Didn't matter. You could be the worst performer in New York. We'd put them on.
So it's kind of an open mic.
As long
It's
as
like
they
an
weren't
open mic, yeah.
as long as they weren't, you know, profane.
Right.
That was the
I
only
will
thing.
tell you this, that very few of them were horrible.
Right.
Very few of them were horrible.
There were a few.
There were few, but very few.
Yeah.
But they got good because, you know, like the thing is,
Well, we coached them, and plus the stage time helps.
Yeah.
yeah, how do you get good?
Right,
By working.
unless you're- yeah.
You know, if you don't make mistakes, I say to people, you know what? If you figure out what tricks you're going to do, you have to do that trick at least 100 times, because within that 100 times, you're going to figure out what could go wrong, and you're going to figure out what are you going to do about it.
Yeah.
You know, how are you going to deal with that if this happens? How do you deal if that happens? And a good friend of ours, Levent, he is traveling the cruise ships. He was one that started as a teenager at our place. And he tells...
A lot of people did.
He tells young people, you know what? After you've done your show 100 times, then do it blindfold. Do it blindfolded and videotape it.
Wow.
Because you should know where everything that you're going to touch, if it's a deck of cards, if it's scissors, you've got to know if you go there, that's that. If you go there, that's that, you know, and that goes there, and that's that. So he said, yeah, he said that if you want to really be good at what you're doing, that's how you do it.
I think Vito Lupo was the same way.
Yeah, very,
Another
very,
performer.
very committed and very precise.
But the only thing at the townhouse they had to agree with was we had a pecking order. And we decided the order of the acts. And we put the bet after
it was pretty obvious.
Right,
to
after
most.
the paid performers, we would put the performer, what was left, whoever wanted to perform, in the order that we thought was the quality. So the worst ones went last, and the better ones went earlier,
Oh,
just because we wanted to protect the audience.
Right.
So as long,
Yeah, you don't want the audience to leave.
right. So
Right.
as long as
You want them to stay as long as possible.
right, and as long as there were a few people in the audience willing to stick it out, we'd stay. We'd stay till the sun comes up. Didn't happen very often, but we would do that. And there were a few people that came and visited us. What was the guy's name that wrestled the women? He was pretty famous.
Andy
Yeah, on
Kaufman?
television, huh?
Oh,
Andy
Andy
Kaufman?
Kaufman.
Andy Kaufman.
That's
Yeah,
so cool.
yeah, Andy Kaufman.
He used to come late at night.
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, that's amazing.
I thought he was amazing. So I never met anything like that. His
He
brain
was a character.
Yeah.
was so different.
Yeah.
Just so
Funny you would know him. Yeah.
I'm a fan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Very cool. That's amazing.
But you
Okay.
never knew what to expect from him. Never.
I would imagine he was probably.
But he
pretty
was
unforgettable.
down to earth. He was okay.
No, but he's so creative.
Oh, yeah,
It was
absolutely.
never the same thing.
Yeah.
So, the two of you run the Houdini Museum in Scranton, Pennsylvania, which is where we are right now. And obviously, preserving history is really important to you,
Yeah.
as it is to the main character of my book. Do you want to talk a little bit about why you've made it your mission to preserve?
Well, Houdini saved my life when I was a kid, and I really believe that. I had I came from a very poor family. I had no direction from family. My family was a wreck. My father was not a good father. He was not a good human. So for me, there was no encouragement. It was only, I mean, just get smacked around and told you're stupid and you're an idiot. And then when I went to school, I was bullied by the kids at school. I was the skinny kid. Well, I was skinny because we didn't have a lot of money, you know? And so what? You know, why does that make me different than you?
Well, you're also the poor kid.
And I was the poor kid. Well, I went to Catholic school, and somehow or another, my mother was a good Catholic, and she believed that it was the thing to be. And so she went to the parish and asked, she had heard about the scholarship program for poor people. And so the parish decided that they would give my family the scholarship. My mom had 9 kids. So if you can imagine 9 kids with a husband that really was a monster, beating on the kids, beating on my mother, and drinking every day of his life. He was just drinking until he was drunk. There was no other, that was just what he did. And just no respect for my mother, no respect for any of the kids. And worse than that, he was, you know, he would call me names and call all the kids names. My poor brother, younger brother, he had, when he was scared, he had a funny smirk on his face. And my father thought that he was making a face at my father. Well, he wasn't. He was just horrified. And my father, whenever he'd see him, he would just say, "Get over here, you blah, blah, blah," and whack him right in the face, like, "Get that stupid smirk off your face." Why? I don't know why. I don't know why. So when I was really young, there was a magician that came to the school and performed. The auditorium, I was really lucky in that case. There was an actual auditorium with rake seating and the stage, and on the stage was red curtain, and on the red curtain was red lighting. And it was totally, there's no other word than dreamy that describes it. It was totally dreamy. And I really felt like I was in another world. It was like I'd never been to a theater event, you know, and I thought, wow, whatever this is very cool. So the principal introduced the magician, and I had no idea what that was, and he started performing, and I was like blown away, just blown away. And I thought, what is that I've got an emotional attachment to this thing, whatever this is. And I looked around the audience, and everybody was in this guy's world. And I thought, man, I wonder if this guy gets paid to do this. Because that's what I want to do.
Yeah.
I want to be that guy. How cool would it be to be that person that gives that thing to whoever comes to see them? And that's what I wanted to do.
Which, as you see, we're still doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. That's an amazing story.
And so, yeah, and then I went to the library and got books on magic, and I started learning magic, but having 6 brothers, I was the girly girl. I was not a tough girl. My older sister, she's still the tough. Boys, everybody was afraid of her. I was afraid of her. I'm still afraid of her. She was very tough. She had my cousin in a what is a hammer hold one time because she started smoking, and he turned her in to my father. So my father's version of how to get a kid to not smoke is to get 20 packs of cigarettes and a whole big box of cigars and make her keep smoking and smoking and smoking until she's
passes
until
out.
she's purple.
Oh, that's awful.
So they came to visit the next time around, and don't you know, he's like acting like everything's cool. And my sister said, "Get over here," and she just grabbed him. She flipped him on the ground, and she had him in a hammer hold. She was going to kill him, I think. It's so funny. I mean, we all were cheering him on because he was a little jerk. I mean, I can't tell you anything. He was just a little jerk. And so anyway, my aunt sees me playing with the boys, playing cowboys and Indians and cops and robbers, and I was always the one that got tied up. They'd tie me to a tree, tie me to a chair, and I'd just wiggle my way out.
Cowboys and Indians.
Yeah, I just wiggle my way out. And my aunt says, "Who do you think you are? Houdini?" And I said, who is that? And she said, look it up. So I went, oh, nice, thank you, that's very helpful. So I go to the library and I'm looking under W for Houdini. And I can't well, how would you spell
Right.
Houdini?
Yes. Yeah. That's logical.
So I said to the librarian, I can't find any books. Can you help me? I said, Houdini, not anywhere. She said, well, did you look over here? And there's this whole stack of books. And it was one book that caught my eye, was with Walter B. Gibson. It was Houdini on Magic. And oh my God, I read that book and then I couldn't put it down. I was reading more about Houdini, and I found out Houdini left home at 12 years old. And a light bulb just went off and I said, ta-da! That's me. I have to do this. I have to raise enough money. And I had decided, when I leave home, I am not going to be a beggar. I am not going to be the one that says, please help me. I am going to be independent. I did any kind of work I could do ever since I was a little kid. If I saw somebody raking leaves, I said, oh, you should see how good I am at that. I could do that. Just give me what you think you could pay me, and I'll do that. And then I'd see somebody painting. Have you ever seen me paint? I can paint. Oh my gosh, let me paint that. You just give me what you... And then I'd do dishes. I would clean houses. I would babysit. I would do anything. I'm not kidding, anything. I would do ironing. That was dumb. Because back in the day, they didn't have, dating myself, but they didn't have wrinkle-free clothes. And when you're ironing, you're spraying, you're ironing, you're spraying, you're ironing. It's still not getting ironed. And so, yeah, that was a chore. They would bring me a basket, I'd say $2 for a basket of laundry. Oh, well, that was dumb. I should have told them how many pieces they would jam them in, so now they're really wrinkled.
Oh, that's awful.
So anyway, that was a dumb idea. But I did make some money, and by the time I was 13, I had $3,000 saved up. And I figured that would be a good start. And
that was after your father stole the original money.
Yeah, that was after, he didn't think kids needed any money.
Right.
And of course he needed it all so he could drink it. And so something very cool happened. My girlfriend, her older brother was driving a car to New York City to bring this sports car, little red sports car, to get it. The dealer wanted to sell it in New York. So he was going to drive it in. He was all bragging all over the place. He's driving a sports car, yeehaw. So I said, ask him if he'll give me a ride to New York. She said, what? I said, you know my life. I don't want to get out of here. I want to leave. She said, and what do you mean? You're going to go to New York for a day? No, I'm going to go live in New York. She said, how are you going to do that? I said, I'm going to do it. Like how anybody else would do it. I'm just going to go and do it and figure it out. So I went riding along. Now, he could have gotten in big trouble if he'd gotten caught taking a kid to New York City and leaving her off, right? So I get there and he says, oh, what are you going to do now? Now, the whole trip there, he doesn't say, where are you going to live? What are you going to do? He doesn't. And I'm letting it go. I don't want to be, I don't want him to turn around or drop me off somewhere. So I get to New York and he says, oh boy, where are you going to live? What are you going to do now? I said, I got to get a place to stay. I got to rent something. He says, well, you gonna? I said, okay, you got to go to the newsstand. And there was like one every 2 blocks. There's a newsstand. So I look and there's a magazine on the rack and it says, Show Business Magazine. What? What? So I get to pick it up and I look in the back of the magazine and I'm like, okay, I got to see. And there's renters in the back. And there's one that looks perfect. 3 gals want to have another gal to rent. And the rent is $150 a month. $150 a month. I'm set. I don't have to beg. I don't have to, I can survive. So then as soon as I got that one, that was great because I went right there, got it right away. They liked me. I liked them. They were all in show business too, so that was cool. There were actors and, dancers, singers. They all wanted Broadway. And so they taught me the ropes about resumes and I says, what's a resume? I said, okay, well, you got to write what work you've done. And I said, oh, Okay. So, well, that's a problem. So they said, you just make it up. They don't really look at it. You just make stuff up. I said, I don't even know what to make it up. So I don't even know what is actually in the original resume. I wish I had it, because it had to be hilarious. It had to be hilarious. I never saved the old resume.
If
but
you
I
ever dig
should.
it up, let me know. I want to see it.
Oh, no, I can't. I don't know what happened to
It's
it.
probably sitting in an agent's drawer somewhere.
Yeah, that's
on the
wrong.
bottom.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So yeah,
amazing.
very cool. And then I quick went to the grocery store to see, well, okay, how am I going to survive? Because everybody says New York is very expensive. So I saw in the frozen department they had waffles. A box of frozen waffles was 8 waffles in a box, and the box was 2 for $1. I went, I love waffles. So
I hope you put some peanut butter on them or
no,
something.
I just love the waffles. And
How did
so,
you not get scurvy?
I don't know. I don't know. I was lucky. But I regimented myself. I said, for breakfast, I got to eat as many waffles as I want. Lunch, I pick up a piece of fruit at one of the fruit stands, the beautiful fruit stands in New York. Everywhere you go, for $1, you get a gigantic apple or a big orange, and your banana, just wonderful. And then for dinner, eat as many waffles as you want. And so that way the money was going to last. I wasn't going to blow my money. I wasn't going to, like I said, I was not going to be a beggar.
That's a lot of self-control to show as a teenager.
I didn't think so. I thought it was just the way
Survival.
I
Yourself
did.
to high
I just
expectations.
thought, if I don't do this, this isn't going to work.
Yep. Wow. Okay. So I love the footage of you doing the straitjacket escape suspended to the running rope from the parachute jump. I have seen the whole video, which is narrated by Tony Curtis.
I have trouble watching it too.
Oh, I'd imagine. So, in the beginning of the video, he makes some sort of obnoxious comments about your body.
Very sexual comments.
Yeah, he's like, wow, look at that straitjacket wrapping around her. Lucky straitjacket. And you're about to do this death-defying feat. And I'm like, what are you
And it turns
talking
into
about?
a weird thing.
Oh, it's so weird. So did that infuriate you, or you just like, it's the 80s, boys are stupid?
Here's what it is. I got the gig. I got paid very well.
Yep.
Nobody touched me. It was okay. It was, it wasn't okay, but it was what was going on. It was just what was going on. I'm sure it happens in offices all the time. There's comments with, ooh, look at her, ooh,
Yeah.
or, if a woman has a Zoftic rear end, it'd be, oh, Beyonce right there. I'm sure it's still going on. I'm sure it's
And it may
happening.
go on for a long time.
Oh, I'm sure.
Sorry
it will.
to say.
So we're entering sort of a new era. Do you feel hopeful about that?
Here's what I hope happens. I hope people would be more humane and realize that women are not toys for you to play with. They're just people. And you know how, we should treat every human like their family. If we considered every human you meet part of your family, do with them what you would want somebody to do with your family.
I think that's a good philosophy.
And if it's not, like in the magic community, I've had male magicians come up to me and like, hey, and
Gross.
and I'd say, and I just, my out for that is I just go, oh, aren't you adorable? And I just walk away.
I mean,
just
that's a
walk
way to
away.
diffuse it. Yeah.
And now that everybody knows who I am and that I'm not available, now other guys, if they see some guy coming on me, they'll go, hey, what do you think you are?
Yep.
Get off it, get
That's
lost.
encouraging.
So that's a good thing, that other people realize that's not appropriate. So that's good when that happens.
Yep. Do you have any questions for me?
Yeah, how in the world did you get it? Okay, The Art of Escaping, and you're inspired by Houdini and me. Where'd that come from?
Okay, so it actually started with Princess Tenko, the Japanese escape artist. When I was about 6, I saw her perform on That's Incredible. Do you remember that show?
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's burned into my mind. She did a water tank escape on that
Oh,
show.
jeez, yeah.
So when I sat down to write a novel, the first image that came to mind was a teenage girl performing an aquarium escape.
That's funny.
So that's where it started. So then I started doing research, and of course, you know, I knew Houdini was sort of the originator of escape art. And then this other name kept coming up, and it was yours. I dug into your story, and I was like, wow, she's fascinating. So I included a few details about your life in the
That's
book.
cute.
Nice.
Yeah.
So how did you escape?
How did I escape? Wow,
Did
good
you
question.
escape? How are you doing?
I'm doing well.
That's
I mean,
good.
but writing is definitely an escape for me. Like
Uh-huh.
you talked about, you know, going into that theater with the red curtain and the red light, and you just described it as dreamy and kind of surreal. I can slip into that space when I'm writing.
Right.
Not always, but when
Yeah.
it's going really well, I'm like, I'm in
So,
it.
do you think that you have something figured out that you can give that gift to others that you could inspire?
I hope so.
Because I think that's awesome. Now we get a lot of young people here, and the other day there was a little kid. I said, "What's a phonograph?" And she said, "It's a phone that takes pictures." And I said,
Guess.
that was a great guess. That was brilliant, you know. So then I talked to her, like I said something else, and she had some other clever thing. And I thought, what a great imagination she has. And I said, do you write anything down, your ideas? And she said, yeah, I keep a journal. And that girl had to be only 8 years old.
Yeah.
And I thought, what a great start. And I thank the parents for supporting her.
Oh,
and not
absolutely.
stifling, you know, when she acts oddly. That's what makes her different than somebody. She's not hurting anybody,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know. So yeah, what's different about us is what makes us special.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much for agreeing to do this.
thanks
This
for
was
coming.
amazing.
Thanks for coming here.
The thing that we've tried to do, both of us, is to, one of the guiding principles has always been to do something historic that will go beyond us. So in New York, people like Doug Henning, David Copperfield, Houdini, Thurston, all wanted to have a magic show spot in New York. They never did it. We were the first ones to do it. And we were there for a long time. Then when we left, the people that we mentored, they opened up a place
Right.
as
Fabulous
well. So it
place.
followed us, which is fine. A couple people tried to open it while we were still in New York.
Which is still there.
We didn't-
Monday Night Magic.
Yeah, no, that was after we left. But a couple people left us and opened up a place.
Oh, you mean to compete with us?
To compete. That wasn't that comfortable. But when we left, and it was a different situation. Then since then, some of the things we've done, we replaced Houdini's bust at his grave.
Right, I love that story. That's
we
amazing.
the Grimm game that was a long lost film, we restored that and had to put out. People thought it was gone forever. She's the first woman to do the bullet catch, the first woman to do the bird escapes that she's done.
Just living legend.
Yeah. Well, that's.
Wow.
But she's the first woman. Not exactly.
Hubba.
She's also known as the first woman to saw a man in half, which there might have been somebody else, but pretty much in modern day, she's the first one. We created the Houdiniopoly game. So we try to
very
do
cool.
things that will go beyond. In fact, now there's
Yeah.
people wanted us to do Houdiniopoly 2 or the sequel. So
the second edition.
I don't know if we
Expansion
will.
pack.
Yeah, but that's we always look for these things to do that are a step beyond.
Yeah, you're creating a legacy.
Yeah.
But we want it. We
That's
want
amazing.
it to leave behind work that people benefit from.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that.
Yeah. So that's it.
Fantastic.
Yeah, this was great.
Yay! I'll sign some books now.
Not so hard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let
Yay.
me see this book.
Actually, I need you to sign that copy for a friend of
Part
mine.
of escaping.
Very nice. Wonderful. Congratulations.
Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
Wow.
Yay.
So it may go to a movie?
Oh, highly unlikely.
Oh, we hope
There
so.
has been some interest.
Don't you dare
but-
say that.
Yeah, don't say
What's the matter
that.
with you?
Just being realistic.
Oh, here's the deal.
It should be a movie,
Don't
yeah.
ever let that get in the air.
I know.
Karma
I mean, there
heard-
has been
Karma
some
heard you
interest,
say that.
but here's the thing: a book comes out, and there's a lot of like, "Oh, that would make a great movie" from producers and whatnot, and then usually nothing happens. So
But let's,
Well,
Yeah.
then you say, okay, can I get in touch with you later?
that's my agent's job.
No, I don't trust anybody.
I have to be on top of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
trust
We'll see.
anybody. There you go. There's something for you. Here you go. Don't trust anybody.
Well,
I just said,
I know.
don't trust anybody to do what you need done, because it may or may not happen.
From Dorothy's hand to your ears.
There you go. No, I know that's their job to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
But-
I don't know any producers. She does, but
Yeah,
we'll see.
we'll see.
that would be cool.
It would be cool.
It would be freaking great.
Yeah. I do think it would make a good movie.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, why not?
Do you hear that? It would be a great movie.
Yay. All right.
So
Thank
thank you.
Thank you so
Thank you.
much. This was so much fun.
I had a blast.
Yay.
Yay.